A regular diet of quality inspiration is essential for designers because it helps us break out of reproducing the same visual aesthetic over and over. Plus, it improves your taste, and that is the most valuable thing we bring to the table. So here's 10 trending web design styles I've identified, beginning with what I call retro maximalism. This is a great example of that, the Seasoned website by the London studio Koto. And this, for context, is all about helping people get into brand design and giving them information about the industry and helping people sort of start. So there's some ebooks on here and this kind of thing that you can find here, these sort of articles about strategy, and you can click into all this kind of thing. But thinking more about the overall aesthetic, what we see here is a real commitment in retro maximalism to one style and running with it. It's about finding references that are authentic to a period. So in this case, it's, I would say, 1970s, 1980s cookbooks, and then gathering those references and then really committing to that style all the way through and making the most of it by just going all in. And I really like that idea that they have not skimped at all on this, but they have made sure to be fully committed to the idea. It's not touches around the edge, but it's the entire design, it's the entire canvas, and it's really over the top, and it gives you a chance to stay and actually engage with this. It might not be as scannable as like a clean modern layout, but that's okay. It has something from a brand perspective which makes it much more memorable. And it doesn't have to be this sort of 70s type style. It could be anything. They've picked the cookbooks and they've run with that, but you can pick any sort of reference and then just really commit to those references, and that will give you retro maximalism. The second style is irregular shapes, and we can see it on this website here from France. And these sort of drawings, they look a bit more hand drawn, even though they're flat, simple 2D vectors. And these irregular shapes kind of follow through. We've got a wiggly line going into this next card, these 2D sort of legs that come here. We've got this crescent type shape, and these three purple blobs here at the end of this sentence. And for this charity or this kind of action program, we see these shapes that come through all the way, but the fact that they are irregular just makes them a little bit more interesting than just a regular spiral, or a circle, a square, and that kind of thing. And you can really just use these as graphic elements, as they've done there in this brand, to bring you a consistent visual style all the way through, limiting the color palette, having a suite of shapes that somehow feel like they belong together, but they're all irregular, and they become really useful graphical tools that you can use to build each one of these layouts. The third style is small mono captions, and this is really cool. On this agency's website here, you can see, first of all, this brand work they've done for VSCO. But as you continue to scroll, you see all their different projects. But these little captions in mono, where it says work, about, contact, etc., they just give a real sense of scale, which is a key design principle. And they make these images feel like they are the hero, feel much larger. And these little captions are a technical style, where they feel like something you would see on a diagram, on a technical drawing, something sort of markup, some blueprint. And having the same all the way through gives this sort of uniformity to them that feels ordered. But then even within our screen sizes, it just makes the images feel that more huge and more of a hero. So even when we have back at the top a full screen video, now, obviously, the work is good. So the work is shining through because there's some beautiful brand design here. But rather than just having a full screen video, those little mono captions just feel like you're more inside an interface, as well as bringing the scale. So that's just a little trick that you can do with captions. And it works really well here, both when the layouts are still or when you hover over one of these projects and you get often like the video that plays or the different image preview to click through. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Matt and I teach at Flux Academy, where we've helped thousands of students become full-time web designers. If you're ready to level up your skills, then have a look at the programs on our website. Follow the link in the description of this video. Oh, and make sure you're getting our weekly email newsletter too. The fourth style is 3D breaks 2D. So here on this website for Palata, we have a flat 2D grid that is in the background. And again, this feels almost diagrammatic because we have a grid. It's like a cutting board or a grid paper, and we've got monospace type again. But these photographs are actually in 3D space, they're models, so that when we scroll, they actually break the 2D feeling. And the fact of those planes going over one another, now we have this 3D going in between this flat text and the flat background. It's just a really interesting style to bring depth into the design. So if you have the ability to create 3D models or commission them, this is a really interesting way of doing it. Rather than making everything feel like it's in real space, just own the flat 2D graphical look and have the 3D sort of break it. And it's a really pleasing website to scroll through. These models seem to leap out of the page and feel really 3D, like you could reach out and grab them in a really tactile way, which is what you want from this kind of product. So it works ideally for this case. The fifth style is Fanzine. Do you know what a fanzine is? It's kind of a fan-produced magazine. So often people will do these for sports teams. They will do this for different like hobbies and interests that they're into. And this feels like a very homemade thing. This is a marketing website, like just a campaign for Hinge, which is a dating app. And you can just go into any one of these sort of stories here and click on them. And we have like a very like fanzine style layout. So back in the day, people would actually, make these things in print shops, maybe in their university or in the local community, and they'd only have, type. They could set like monospace, so they'd have to photocopy and lay out images with paste up, and it has that kind of style where the way fonts are in there, they feel a little bit, thrown together, and the way the captions are done. But actually, it's done in a thoughtful way, and it feels really charming. And this sort of fly on the wall street photography really just captures the whole aesthetic and the whole feel, which feels down to earth, without pretension. It feels youthful, and they've owned this all the way through, and it feels like young people putting together a magazine. It's really got that element to it. It doesn't feel like a brochure for luxury yachts, something that's just at a completely different place, but it feels more sort of raw when it comes to these like love stories, and I think that's makes it a lot more relatable for people when they're thinking about something like this dating app, instead of creating something which is kind of like a polished studio model aesthetic, which doesn't feel very authentic. Number 6, Modernist editorial. This is on full display on this website here, VDL. Modernism is all about order, and this is a mid-century style that was really came out of Switzerland and Germany, and then there was a lot of key work done in the United States as well. And this kind of work is all about grid systems. It's all about following the grid back from the days of print publishing, from magazine layouts and book layouts and brochures, and often using these sort of grotesque sans serif typefaces, limiting the color palettes, and this really feeling like the sort of grid that you would find in print publishing. And I would say with this is never a trend. This is always a timeless style. This is always something that can work in every sense. But particularly here where we have this sort of architecture, it really works, and it's clean. It gives a sense of order to the whole composition and the whole feel of the website, so that when you're here, you can calmly proceed where you need to be, and then you can get to the work itself, and you can actually see this work of the architecture shine through. But this sort of editorial style in modernism, it never goes out of style. Infinite horizontal scroll is really put to effect on this art director's website. I'm just scrolling now with my normal mouse button, not the horizontal scroll, the sort of vertical scroll, but it's leading me to scroll horizontally here. And what's happening is you can see these images that are in the circle are the ones that are coming to the fore in the background here. And we can just go round and round this circle. And this art director has a consistent aesthetic, which is really smart, because if somebody wants to hire them, to book this person, then they have the ability here to just see exactly what they do, exactly what they're good at. That's the look I want. So it's a smart way of doing the portfolio, but I just like the fact that I can scroll and scroll infinitely, and instantly I'm seeing the work. I'm not going through too much information. If this is who I want to book, then I'm going to use this person for my photography or video shoot. They do also have like an archive where you can see these in a rectangular format, all these different images, and you can kind of, click into them and have a look at them in a larger setting, full screen. And there's kind of a really nice interface to this, but I just like that idea of, it's more of a UI thing of the infinite horizontal scroll, but it was done very well stylistically on the homepage by also introducing the circle here of all the different thumbnails. So this is a really clever site that's worth exploring, and we'll put links to all these sites in the description so you can check them out for yourself. The next style I call color modes, and this is the website with the new brand for GF Smith, and these are a paper producer, not just merchant but producer, and every sort of one who does print in the UK has one of these sample books on their in their studio, so they can readily grab the paper samples and choose all that lovely paper. And what they've done here, because they produce so many different colors and they're known for it, they've just committed to all these different color modes. So if I click on the menu, it inverts to now green on orange instead of the orange on green that we have. You've also bring in a lot of the texture of the paper here on the site for a background. But as we scroll through, you can see the interface actually changes these different color modes. Now we've got this sort of off-white on purple, and we keep going through with this sort of pink and maroon, and we've got this sort of light pink and this royal blue here, and we have this acid yellow, greeny kind of color. And so all the way through, we've got all these different colors, but because the contrast is good every time, it always works, and it actually works as a brand altogether. Now, there seems to be some sort of limit to this colors. There's not, dozens and dozens of them. There is some sort of palette, but it's quite a large palette. And yeah, we're returning to the same sort of colors, and it's a large enough palette to work. And you see, wherever we are in the menu, we click on it, it's within the color mode that we're on at that particular part, which is a really smart way of doing it and introducing some life and some color, which is really appropriate for this particular company, is a really fun way to bring that interest to the website. Number 9, print this poster. Now, this company is actually called Poster Co. So I really like that their website has a poster-like interface as soon as you go onto it. One of the best advice I ever got from an art director that I worked with was make every layout look like a poster. Imagine any panel of your website or your brochure or your presentation, you could print that out and put it up on the wall in the studio, and it would look good in a frame. We need to have that composition with every single layout that we do, and this works really well for that. Again, like the small mono captions site that we saw, and we do actually have these sort of mono captions again at the bottom, it also just helps bring life to a full screen video, because full screen video is not a new thing. It's been around for a while and became more popular when we got faster internet speeds. But they have brought something else to this. It's not just a full screen video, by having their logo at the full width, and because they have a logo with real presence in their word mark, it has some real weight to it, and it has a graphical structure. when it's overlaid in this way in the white, and it also feels larger because of the very small moral captions here. So because those principles of scale are in play, they make it feel more poster-like. So I think that's really smart. And you can continue to scroll through this website, and although we go into these different panels now where we have a grid, we still have, a really nice thumbnail for every single video. And yes, they're doing beautiful work, so it makes it a lot easier to bring this through. But they've also made the most of it by the way they use the captions and starting off with, this layout, which just feels like good enough to frame. And number 10 is Playful 2D. This is a website for Matt Voice, who is a type designer and an animator from the UK who does great work, and you can see in his show reel here. But notice even the cursor here that we have, it's been redrawn with this kind of minimal but fun style that is consistent all the way through, because if we move over this reel, we then get this clapperboard symbol, and all the way through we have what I call Playful 2D. We have this cartoonish sort of style. Here we've got the TV, and it's obviously we've got the lovely animation, which does bring interest to it. But just even things like these little tooltips. So when I hover over something, I click on, I get my hand cursor, but I also get this little tooltip underneath saying View Project. And all the way through, we're just following this style. We're mainly using this sort of cyan and yellow with the color scheme. But here we have more of this 2D with the pencil, with the hand, the lettering. Every time we go through one of the different services that this freelancer offers, we have another suite of illustrations. But they are not just 2D, they're playful, they're fun, they make you smile, they make you feel like this is somebody who's got some personality and some energy and is a positive person, the kind of person you're going to want to work with, as well as really displaying his skills. Even if in a rollover state, we've got these different, chevrons in the background. We have these little kind of shine, diamonds that flash up all the way through. So being consistent with the branding all the way through in this playful 2D style is really, really smart here. So that's fantastic work, Matt. It's crucial for designers and art directors to know what's possible and be familiar with a range of styles. When you're producing your own work, just remember to develop your own unique approaches and be inspired by many influences as opposed to copying just one. Until next time, happy designing.